Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. So, Survivor Series is, of course, this Saturday, but in the meantime, we're going to continue our look at some older Survivor Series matches for the month of November this year. Of course, because we've already done one 5-on-5 and two other matches, this week is another 5-on-5. But I figured let's up the ante a little bit. How about a 5-on-5-on-5? Now, if you remember from last year, I reviewed the men's match from Survivor Series 2019, the one with NXT. Probably one of the only things that went right for WWE in the year 2019, and it's crazy to think that happened on complete accident because of the issues with travel following, I believe, Crown Jewel that year. This literally is the textbook picture perfect definition of a happy accident. But last year we saw the men. This year, it's the women's turn. Yes, earlier on in the show, the women also had 5-on-5-on-5 action. So what happened? What happened when it's the ladies' turn? Let's find out. I'm of course talking about Team Raw versus Team Smackdown versus Team NXT at Survivor Series, the women's this time around. And I'm probably gonna go back and update the men's one from when I reviewed it last year. I'll just put men's and women's to differentiate between the two matches. But in the meantime, I'm not a professional wrestling reviewer or analyst or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and I had a really good time, I would say, with this match. Between these two matches, I'd be tempted to go with the men on this one, but the women still did really well. What went down? Let's find out. And of course, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works. If you haven't, though, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about the match. So starting with what I liked, I think they picked some really phenomenal teams for all three sides. So Team Raw consists of Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Sarah Logan. And Team SmackDown consists of Sasha Banks, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross. And Team NXT consists of Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, and Toni Storm. A couple things before we begin. For starters, even though we have Team Raw and Team SmackDown and Team NXT, I think just about all these ladies were in NXT at one point, which is crazy to think about. Obviously, the ones on Team Raw and Team SmackDown had been on the main roster for a while, a few years at this point. But the other thing is that War Games that year was the night before, and we have some double duty. Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae were her. As well as Bianca Belair, all competed the night before in War Games. And so Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair teaming up here, Emily and Io Shirai, of course. So them teaming up here is a bit awkward. I'm not gonna lie, a bit awkward. 24 hours later, there, buddy. But still, the other main thing is that when it comes to the future of the company, like when you think of where each and every one of these women will be in WWE and in other companies such as AEW in the case of Toni Storm, to think about where they are now versus where they'll be in just a year or two from now. Oh my goodness, this is definitely a glimpse into the future in a way, because the likes of Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair and Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, Toni Storm, etc. are in NXT now, but once they get to the main roster, and when Toni Storm gets to AEW at least, by the time they get to the main roster, they're just going to be absolute superstars. Literally, Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, to an extent, being like some of the top names in the women's division on Raw and SmackDown at this point in time. And so just going on to absolute superstardom. And that's always fascinating to see. certain superstars there's before and after they really reach that superstardom, and this is really before. Now they've reached obviously that superstardom in NXT, of course, but at the main roster where a lot more eyes were on them. Although I think at this point NXT had just not too long ago made their official debut on network television on the USA Network, but yeah, just to see where they'll be in just a couple years from now, in just a few years from now, how in a couple years from now, Bianca Belair will have been champion, and Rhea Ripley, he will have been making waves on the main roster, or Io Shirai as well. Candice LeRae, hey, she's finally starting to get a push, which really like becoming a permanent fixture on the roster within the last couple of years, but she's starting to get a nice push as well. So it's really awesome to see. The story here is that the women of NXT are kind of seen as underdogs, having to fight against the more, I guess, in a way, experienced competitors on Team Raw and SmackDown. But another aspect of Team Raw and SmackDown is a few of their members kind of hate each other, right? Or just a little bit. There is some tension on Team Raw and Team SmackDown. So those elements really permeate throughout the match. We see some infighting between Sasha Banks, who is the team captain, and her team, between Charlotte Flair and her team, especially when it comes to Asuka. Asuka even blasts the mist in Charlotte Flair's face. So those aspects, the absolute talent and the story throughout definitely help this match along. The action is also very, very, very nice. We get to see a little bit, quite a bit from each woman, and we see some crossover, some interactions between some of the former NXT talents who have now made their way up to Raw and SmackDown, such as kind of the interaction between Kairi Sane and Io Shirai. And crazy thing, several years later, they're back again on a team on Damage Control. But to see the interactions between those two, who kind of even more that glimpse in the future, as Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks do, who kind of have a interaction as well. Just is everything kind of wrapped into one. It's a match where I think the match itself is really good, but the hindsight just makes knowing what will become of these women later on just makes it even better, in my opinion. But like I said, still a really good match, and the story is told throughout, especially with Candice LeRae and Io Shirai both taking a nasty bump, at least in kayfabe, and having to be escorted to the back, meaning NXT is down by 3, so fighting against Raw and SmackDown, and Team Raw and Team SmackDown kind of fighting each other. And thankfully, yeah, I do like how they keep those story threads going, so that it doesn't feel like it's just being thrown away for the sake of brand supremacy, because that is a problem that a lot of people had. Is oh, I know these people normally hate each other, but brand supremacy, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and it's implied they're putting aside their differences for one night, but that's not really told. But when kind of tempers explode and you have kind of that friction, I think it makes for a more compelling story. We even have a little bit of that this year, which will add an interesting twist. But we'll obviously get to that when we get to our predictions. That will come either Friday night or Saturday morning before the event. I'm not entirely sure yet, but so those elements make for even more of an interesting match and more of an interesting story. Candice LeRae and Io Shirai do end up coming back as it winds down to just Rhea Ripley. And Rhea Ripley, they really established her as a star. I believe it was Beth Phoenix who say some people consider Rhea Ripley the future. And when she said that, she absolutely hit the nail on the head when it comes to that. Rhea Ripley absolutely was the future at the time, and now she's really reached it, and she still has even further to go. Oh wow, this guy truly is the limit for her, and it's awesome to see that even 5 years ago. Let me know if as soon as I mentioned that this was 5 years ago, your body immediately recoiled. It's okay, mine did too, but. It's crazy to think that 5 years later, her Beth Phoenix was absolutely spot on when it comes to that. But yeah, so all of those elements made for a very solid match. Like I said, between the two, I do gotta give it to the men, but the women really had a really great showing as well. In terms of why it didn't quite like as much, excuse me, yeah, it felt like some women didn't get quite as much. Some of the competitors didn't quite get as much time to shine, but that's normal for like the 5-on-5 Survivor Series matches. But I still think each competitor got enough of in the match to really warrant it. But someone would like to see a little bit more or from but yeah, that is going to do, I think for this match. So really, really great match. And I definitely recommend some great action between both the men's and the women's, as well as kind of glimpses into the future, especially for the women. The men, unfortunately, yes, to an extent, but I don't think as much, especially with a lot of them kind of falling through, unfortunately. But especially with the women, to kind of get that glimpse into the future, I definitely recommend this match. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload videos, so you can see it as soon as it drops. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the match, my review of the match. Do you like this match? Do you like my review of the match? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace.